If you happen to be a T-Mobile customer, you've been waiting around for quite some time for a respectable high-end Android smartphone, you might want to take a look at the T-Mobile G2x, which is basically a variant of the LG Optimus 2X from a couple months ago. It shares pretty much the same set of hardware, such as the brilliant 4-inch display, NVIDIA Tegra 2 dual-core processor, you have front-facing camera, and also rear camera that shoots 1080p video, so there's a lot to love about this $200 on contract phone, which is available right now, but we'll see how it contends against some of the top shelf devices out there. There isn't much difference between the design of the G2X and the Optimus 2X. It shares pretty much all design cues. Overall, it's a nice looking handset and employs some really nice feeling materials. It combines some plastics with the soft touch coating in the back, and the metallic strip there just adds a little bit of character to the device. It's a little bit on the larger side just because there's a little bit more dead space beneath the display. It's still streamlined at 0.4 inches thick all around. It's very comfortable to hold, and overall, it's definitely an appealing looking handset. Needless to say, the first thing to capture attention with the device is its gorgeous 4-inch WVGA touchscreen. So it has a resolution of 480 by 800 pixels. It produces some great details, sharp looking, so you're not going to have any problems making out even the most minuscule of text. On top of that, the IPS LCD display is high quality, similar to the one on the iPhone 4, so it produces some brilliant looking colors, very natural in its output, and also has some really nice viewing angles, so you're not going to lose focus of what's on screen. Above the display, you have the earpiece grill, and next to it, you have the 1.3 megapixel front-facing camera for video chat, and you also have the light and proximity sensors. Meanwhile, you've got the usual set of Android capacitor buttons below the display. They're placed a little bit further away from the edge to reduce any accidental presses. The left edge of the handset is clean, but on the right side, the only thing that you have is just the volume rocker here. Volume up, volume down. They're raised, so they have a really good distinguishable feel, and they have a really nice tactile response when pressed. Oppositely, at the bottom of the handset, you got the micro USB port to charge and also connect the device to a computer. You have your microphone, and you also have the speaker. And finally, in the back, you have a little bit of a hump going on where the camera is at. It's an 8 megapixel autofocus camera. It has an LED flash and has the ability to shoot 1080p video here. Removing the back cover is very simple. Just yank it off. It's a plastic cover. And then you get access to the micro SD card slot, you have the battery, and also the SIM card slot. Single-handedly, one of the best features about the T-Mobile G2X is the fact that it packs a 1 GHz dual-core NVIDIA Tegra 2 processor. Now, the Optimus 2X was the first in the world to support that processor, but in the US, we've seen devices like the Atrix have it already. But nonetheless, we're happy with the overall experience with the G2X. It just moves at an alarming rate and doesn't really stutter in any of its operation. You could tell with the app panel here, the 3D cube-like effect, it's not an issue whatsoever. And navigating is such a joy just because you see that responsiveness with it. Some might consider this a blessing, but the G2X actually sheds the customized Android experience of the Optimus 2X, and instead it resorts to using the stock Android 2.2 Froyo experience. Of course, you have a lot of personalization with it. You have a bunch of different wallpapers you can select, from the static ones to a live wallpaper, and thanks to the fast processor, everything that you do just operates at a high level, no stutter whatsoever. On top of that, you have a useful set of widgets that you could always use on the home screen. There's a bunch of different ones that will provide plenty of usefulness, so you don't have to run dedicated applications. And overall, it's definitely nice because it is one of the very few devices on the market to have the stock experience. Thanks partly to its large display and also fast processor, the typing experience is actually fantastic with the G2X. As you can tell here, it's able to keep up even with the speediest of typers out there and has a really good response, although the portrait option might look a little bit more cramped. You have two different methods here. You have the Android stock keyboard and also the swipe one for that alternative way of typing text. But either way, the best option is using the landscape keyboard just because there's plenty of room, and when you combine it with its peppy response, it makes for a great experience. If you use an Android device before, the Gmail experience is no different on the G2X. It's fantastic just because it has all the features you'd expect, like a threaded view and also the ability to star stuff. And it's fairly nice and easy to use. Setup is pretty simple. Generally, it requires just a username and password, and automatically will set up by itself. Sadly, we missed the 3D looking music player interface of the LG Optimus 2X, and instead, with the G2X, we're presented with the stock experience. It might not have a flashy presentation, but it's more than functional, obviously. In terms of the audio quality from the speaker, if you have it set to DTS Ultra Mobile is off, it sounds a little bit on the mute side, but when you turn it on, it's noticeably more powerful, but there's a hint of crackliness at the loudest volume setting. With its gorgeous-looking 4-inch IPS LCD display, the video watching experience is just utterly fantastic. It's able to play a lot of different codecs. The one we have here is encoded in DivX 1280 by 720 in resolution, so there's plenty of details, some natural-looking colors, and it moves at a steady rate, so there's no choppiness or lag with it. Also, you could output 1080p video to HD television if you connect the device with an HDMI cable. Yet another thing that we like about the Optimus 2X, there are quite a bit nice games on board with the device from the beginning here, and it kind of shows off the graphical prowess of the Tegra 2 processor inside of it. The other neat thing about it is the fact that you could always connect the HDMI cable to a television, so you could basically play your games on your television set and use the device as your controller. The camera interface is mainly clutter-free from what you can see. There's no dedicated shutter key, so you gotta rely on the on-screen one. When you tap anywhere on the screen, it gives you all the different options on the left-hand side. So you have the zoom options, the brightness, the flash settings, and when you go to settings, you get additional stuff such as the image size, the focus, scene modes, the white balance. So there's plenty of stuff to give your photos an animated look to it. Packing a larger than average size 8-megapixel autofocus camera with LED flash, we're kind of content with the image quality produced by the handset. Surprisingly, in outdoor conditions where there's plenty of sun, there's lots of details and colors look fairly natural, and in indoor conditions, low lighting, there's barely any evidence of any static or noise in the shots, and the LED flash does a good job of illuminating the scenery. Being one of the few devices on the market to support full 1080p video recording, it's definitely one of the highlights about the T-Mobile G2X. Now, it's in 1080p, the capture rate looks a little bit on the stuttery side, but at 720p, it's a little bit more smooth in its movement. There's still plenty of detail with it, and color production looks dead on, and doesn't adversely change white balance when you move into different sceneries. However, though, the audio recording is less than desirable just because it has a muffled tone with it. Calling quality with the G2X is fairly average at best, just because on our end of the line, the earpiece is strong enough to make to hear voices, but it just has a muffled tone to it. On the other end, though, our callers didn't have any problems on their end, just because they said our voice did sound clear and distortion-free. When we switched to using the speakerphone, though, we still noticed that muffled tone with voices. The other nice thing about the T-Mobile G2X, and the thing that separates it over the Optimus 2X, is the fact that it has a Wi-Fi calling on board, so if you don't have a good reception, there's an alternative way to get your phone calls. When it comes to web browsing, the T-Mobile G2X is a fantastic device. First and foremost, it has HSPA Plus connectivity, so pages load up super fast. It has Flash 10.1 support, so it doesn't even slow down in the wake of any Flash content, so it gives you that real desktop-like experience. And overall, it has a very responsive feel to it, from kinetic scrolling to pinch zooming. Everything just moves at an alarming rate, and overall, we're more than satisfied by its performance. During our time testing out the handset, we didn't experience any major fluctuations with signal strength and manages to keep a steady amount of bars in high coverage areas. Fortunately, battery life is pretty respectable with the T-Mobile G2X. We managed to get easily a solid day of normal usage and still has a little bit of gas in the tank. Heavy users, of course, much like any other smartphone, will want to keep a spare charger on them, while light users will get a little bit more out of its battery. Without a doubt, the T-Mobile G2X is by far the best Android-powered smartphone on T-Mobile's lineup right now, just mainly because it has a lot of stuff that other devices don't offer yet, such as the ability to shoot 1080p high-definition videos and also a dual-core Tegra 2 chipset. You have a stock experience too, which some people will adore, but thanks to the fast processor, it just makes for a great platform experience just because everything is just so responsive. It has a nice camera too, so you can shoot videos and also photos, and 1080p video capture is still a rarity amongst today's smartphones, so there's plenty to love with this device for $200 on contract. So if you'd like to learn more about the T-Mobile G2X or for all the latest cell phone reviews, news, specs, and information, you can check us out, phonearena.com.